Are you feeling stuck? Are you suffering from mind-body pain? Are you circling the drain? We have an amazing program called the Mind-Body Blueprint, a roadmap to somatic embodiment, which will teach you how your mind, your body, your emotions, your spirit are all interrelated, and how to come back to center for yourself. We invite you to book a call with us because we'd love to help you and to support you to feel better in your mind, body, and spirit. Maybe you want to move better. Maybe you want to sleep better. Maybe you just want to feel better and observe the thoughts that you have that are sabotaging your day-to-day. In this video, you'll hear Nicole talking about the veils, the beliefs, and the ways that the things that we've taken on obscure our light and prevent us from shining brightly in the world. So we hope you enjoy the teachings from this Mind Body Blueprint coaching call. And again, I invite you to book a call with us. We'd love to chat with you and support you to feel your best.
So in this program, at the very beginning, we gave you this opportunity to do this evaluation of your beingness. So it was your physical, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, your habits, right? So it was a real deep dive into understanding how you're showing up in the world. And we did that for a very specific reason, because it's important to understand that we're a soul having a human experience. And within that human experience, there's all kinds of stuff, right? Our traumas, our habits, things that have happened to us in our lifetime, the belief systems that we've adapted to, the family we come from, the country we live in, things like that. And so we've adopted all of these ideas, belief systems, and what those belief systems do is they actually, what I would describe it as, create a veil. And so a simple example that I tend to use is if you think of a nice big light bulb, and you have these lovely, beautiful, thin silk scarves, right? So you can see, if you put them over a light bulb or a lampshade, you'll be able to see the light through it, right? But what if you took one and then another one and then another one and then another one and then another one, you just kept covering up that light? Then the light is still shining underneath all of that, but it's been dulled by the experience of having each one of these veils. And so these veils are that belief system. I am a mother, I am Canadian, right? I believe in this, I belong to that, right? It's each time we have one of these belief systems intact, or even an experience of life trauma, we're adding a veil, and then we add another veil, and then we add another veil. And these veils, they become a distraction. So they distract us away from who we really are. And pain falls into that category as well. That could also be a veil. And so in the process of going through that evaluation, what we hoped for is that you would begin to see who you are, how you're showing up in the world. Who am I? And so that, even just having done the evaluation itself, bringing you now into work and life and the clubs you belong to, or the sports you do, or the family you're in, being able to kind of sit back and go, wow, well, that's interesting. I react this way. I say that. I have this habit. And then you begin to realize that all of those things are taking us out of, so if you think of a habit, keeping us in the past. And when we want to be in the flow of life, in that place of spiritual flow and ease and effortlessness, well, where does that come from? Well, that comes from being in the present. So all of these veils that we're describing that are covering up one's light are actually keeping us stuck in something that's done, that doesn't even exist anymore, and stopping us from that having that ability to be present. And so that's why we put you through that process, to begin to understand. And then as you go through the program, you've now learned about the neuroplastic pain and how pain shows up, and how significant pain can be as a veil. Lots of them, right? And so if we want to just begin to think of it that way, right? Pain is an opportunity instead to kind of go, hey, all right, so what am I holding on to? What am I holding back from? And I want to give you a super cool example, because I got to tell you, Carrie will tell you, we both do this work constantly. Where, I'm 17 years into doing these kinds of practices, right? So I'm talking to a person who both Carrie and I have been working with the last little while. And I'm on this kind of Zoom call with a bunch of people, and we're just chatting about stuff. And I'm like, yeah, so, and it actually has to do with like fascial tissue and what have you, right? So I said to the guy, well, I got this thing with my whatever. And I can't quite turn my head sometimes. And sometimes I can, and sometimes I can't, and blah, blah, blah. Right. And this guy says to me, he goes, this has nothing to do with your muscles. He says, nothing to do with your fascia. He says, you got a belief system in there. Right. So I'm like, okay, I'll go with that. Right. Because I'm all ears for this kind of stuff. And he says, okay, so here's what I want you to do. He says, you're going to put your hand here and your hand here, and you're going to say blah, blah, blah. Right. So I do that. Right. And I turn my head, and I can turn my head just fine. I've been able to turn my head down fine for days. Right. And this is something that has been part of my life for as long as I can remember myself. But it was a layer, it was a veil that I didn't even know was there because it was so subtle, right? So I'm kind of always coming at it from like a somatic perspective. And yes, there was lots has changed as a result of that. Lots have changed, right? But then there was this last little piece that I couldn't get over. And then somebody else with another perspective came in and went, wait a minute, but have you looked at it this way? And so that was such a phenomenal lesson, even though I know these lessons, right? And I teach these lessons, it's good to hear it back, right? To have somebody hear it back. And so this is what we're trying to help you to understand is that, pain is awful when we get that. And it's an opportunity. An accident, an injury is awful, and it's an opportunity. In 2016, my jaw was broken by my dentist, who decided to try and pull my tooth out long after it was clearly never coming out because it was attached to my skull. And so he decided, he broke my jaw, he broke my face. It was a big whatever, right? And so that at the time set me back from a trauma perspective quite a bit, right? So I at that point I felt, wow, I've done so much work around my sexual abuse in my life and what have you. And then what happened was I broke, so I'm here, I think I'm here, and then my jaw gets broken, and I felt like this happened. And in fact, that's not actually what happened. My jaw broke, and what it really did is it woke me up. It gave me an opportunity to then reflect even deeper into that trauma. And so it gave me the opportunity to clear that a little bit more. So in other words, I got to remove a few more veils. And I could feel the effect of that is quite palpable in my life, in the sense of how I was living in flow, the level of creativity that was coming to me, my relationships with my family, and they were beginning to shift. So, that was a terrible and painful experience, and it was such a gift. But at the time, it didn't feel like that, right? So this is kind of what we're trying to help you to begin to understand, is that, this understanding this from this sort of spiritual energetic perspective is super important when we start to look at ourselves and how we're showing up in the world.
If you like this video, please click like, please subscribe to our channel, and thanks for watching.